Hey everyone, this is Stefan with Sound Collective Studio. In this very quick tutorial, I'm going to show you how to help remove or at least dampen plosives inside of a recording or even during the tracking process. And if you're unfamiliar with plosives, it's just that sound, that high energy start to a P, or other different letters as well can be kind of resonant with the high energy, and it's very distracting to the listener, and generally you don't want those in. That's why you have pop filters, or if you have the poor man's pop filter. I wouldn't do this with a client, mind you, but if you're recording like a voiceover or something for yourself, if you place a pencil towards your lips pretty close, it'll actually diffuse that energy from the P's. But I'm going to show this process during, say, mixing or tracking. To illustrate that, on my console for my UAD, I'm using the API channel strip, nothing added to it. I'm just using the high pass on my own vocal. So when I say P's or anything like that, you don't hear it inside of the voice recording. Sometimes you do. I'm not too picky about my own voice. But anyway, of course, if you're working with a client or something that you're putting into a song, you wouldn't want those plosives to be resonant inside the mix. And so I have a little phrase here. It's nothing too serious. And we're going to do a playback of that without any editing. And then I'll show you two different methods on how to at least dampen the plosives inside of the mix. So here is the playback. Platypus is pushing pickles towards the pavilion. I'm not much of a singer, but I do rap a little bit, so I do tongue twisters that I make just to kind of open up my lips and vocal cords. But anyway, one thing about plosives is they have kind of their own little signature inside the waveform, right? So this little dip and then up is that sound. So I'll just use the marquee tool to solo it in. Turn up my monitors so I can hear what you're hearing. So yeah, you can hear it, that sound, right? And so a quick way to help dampen the plosives is to use a high pass filter, and we have one from Logic Pro, and I'll just go ahead and reset this and just show you exactly what I'm doing. So let's see. Okay, so I reset the parameters. If you hold Option and click, it'll do that. I think pretty much with anything if you're trying to reset parameters inside Logic Pro. And generally you're going to remove these frequencies in the vocal anyway, right? So I brought it up to around like 230 hertz, and then that shelf's a little intense to me, so we're going to bring it down to 16 or 18 dB, and then do a quick playback so you can hear how much it reduces the plosive. Oops, let me turn up my... Platypus is pushing pickles towards the pavilion. And here it is without. Platypus is pushing pickles towards the pavilion. So that's a pretty dramatic difference between the two, right? And so say if you were really trying to be... anal is not the right word because it's a good technique to have. You don't want those to be inside your mix or your tracking process. But say if you're working on a voiceover for a client and you can't have any of that type of energy in there because it sounds unprofessional, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to automate those pops of energy. And I mean, I did a pretty dramatic version of the plosives, right? Hopefully you don't get something nearly this bad. But we're just going to listen in and then automate. And you don't want to completely remove it because then it sounds kind of unnatural. But we're just going to reduce it by 6 dB. Platypus. And then I'll just do it across the board here. Let's see if we can... Yeah. And command arrow right or left helps you zoom in. Or lets you zoom in, sorry. I'll do it right there. And I totally didn't do this guy. Sorry about that. That's an odd one right there. That should work. It's always good to double check. Make sure you're not getting... I think this one should be fine, actually. Let's see. Zoom in a little further. Yeah, this one should be okay. Okay. So I'll do a couple playbacks with, and then I'll strip the automation from the channel, and then you can hear it without the automation, right? So here's, with the automation.
Platypus is pushing pickles towards the pavilion.
Once again.
Platypus is pushing pickles towards the pavilion.
And then I'm going to strip it.
Platypus is pushing pickles towards the pavilion.
So I did a pretty good job of dampening it. And I'm just going to get on a soapbox for a second and say that you should never try to record something with the idea of trying to fix it in the mix. You should try to get the best possible recording at the time, but sometimes, it's not a perfect world. If a client recorded at their buddy's place, they didn't have the best setup, they didn't have a pop filter, or a client themselves doesn't have a pop filter in their own home studio or project studio. Sometimes you get material that simply wasn't recorded quite well, you know what I mean? So this is just a quick trick, or not trick, I hate that word. This is a technique to help dampen plosives inside of the mix. So hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please let me know, and please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you feel like my videos help you. So this is Stefan with Sound Collective Studio, and I'll talk to you soon.